In the Jurassic, being large was not always enough. Predators were growing bigger, faster, and more specialized, and for some herbivores, survival meant turning the body itself into a weapon. Among Thyreophorans, armor became more than protection. It became spikes, plates, signals, barriers, and structures so extreme that some still raise questions today. Armor did not need to make these animals untouchable. It only had to change the cost of an attack, turning a vulnerable herbivore into something slower, heavier, but far more dangerous to bite. One of the most extreme examples was Spicomellus, one of the earliest known ankylosaurs, living over 165 million years ago in what is now Morocco. Its armor pushes the concept to an almost unprecedented level. Unlike later ankylosaurs, whose osteoderms were embedded in the skin, Spicomellus carried spikes fused directly to its ribs, turning parts of the skeleton itself into armor. Imagine bone extending outward into sharp projections, fused with the skeleton in a way rarely seen among vertebrates. This may have created a stronger, more stable defensive system, or it may represent a very different early configuration of armored dinosaur anatomy. Either way, Spicomellus shows that Thyreophoran armor was already becoming extreme very early in the Jurassic. Earlier still, near the dawn of the Jurassic, small forms like Scutellosaurus reveal where this story begins. This lightly built, bipedal dinosaur from North America carried rows of small osteoderms along its back and tail. Its long tail helped balance its body as it moved on two legs, suggesting agility rather than sheer defense. Even here, the first hints of armor appear, scattered plates that may have offered just enough protection to shift the odds in an increasingly dangerous world. Osteoderms were not simply scales made larger. They were bony structures formed within the skin, capable of strengthening the body's surface without replacing the skeleton beneath. In Thyreophorans, these elements became one of the most flexible defensive systems in dinosaur evolution, able to appear as small plates, broad shields, spikes, or elaborate structures used for more than one purpose. As time passed, armor became more extensive. Scelidosaurus from early Jurassic England marks a turning point. Larger, heavier, and covered in an extensive array of bony plates, it still retained the ability to rear partially onto its hind legs. Picture it moving through dense vegetation, a 4-meter-long spiny silhouette, something like a wingless dragon browsing quietly. Its body suggests a compromise between mobility and protection, a transitional body plan that hints at the diversity yet to come. By the Middle Jurassic, different Thyreophoran lineages were producing very different defensive architectures. Huayangosaurus, one of the earliest stegosaurs from China, carried rows of flattened pointed plates along its back. Near the shoulders, smaller scapular spines emerged, while toward the hips, larger spikes projected outward. This arrangement created a gradient across the body, plates along the back, more weapon-like structures near the rear. Different regions of the body may have served different roles, from display to defense. Another striking form was Gigantspinosaurus, a medium-sized armored dinosaur from what is now China. At first glance, it might seem not particularly unusual. A low-slung body, protective osteoderms, and the general outline of an early stegosaur. But then the eye is drawn to something startling. Two enormous shoulder spines projecting sideways like lances. These scapular spikes were far larger than those of most relatives. They may have served as defensive structures, forcing predators to approach with caution, but their size also suggests a possible visual role in display or intraspecific signaling. In Gigantspinosaurus, armor was not simply a passive shield. It reshaped the silhouette of the animal. Yingshanosaurus reinforces the same pattern. Its enormous shoulder spines, even larger than those of Gigantspinosaurus, seem almost exaggerated. At that scale, defense alone may not explain the whole structure. These spines may also have acted as signals, visual declarations visible from a distance, perhaps linked to display, intimidation, or competition between individuals. In modern animals, elaborate structures often serve more than one function, and Jurassic armored dinosaurs may have been no different. Another recently recognized form, Angustungui, adds an unexpected detail to this picture. Informally named and recovered as a close relative of Loricatosaurus, it lived more than 155 million years ago in what is now Western China. Medium-sized, perhaps around 3 to 5 meters long, it was not among the giants of the group, but its feet were unusual. Unlike most stegosaurs, which typically had blunt, hoof-like ungual bones, Angustungui had narrower, sharper claws. Combined with its pointed bony plates, those claws may have given it a silhouette that almost evokes Godzilla, while remaining a very real Jurassic herbivore. This suggests that even the feet of armored dinosaurs could vary more than expected, perhaps reflecting differences in weight-bearing, movement, or even digging behavior. In a lineage famous for plates and spikes, Angustungui reminds us that anatomical variation extended even to the feet. Armor did not always remain close to the body. In some stegosaurs, it stretched into unexpected proportions. Miragaia, from the late Jurassic of what would become the Iberian Peninsula, combined familiar plates with a surprisingly elongated neck. This feature, reminiscent of much larger sauropods, may have allowed it to browse vegetation out of reach of other herbivores. Here, armor coexisted with feeding specialization. Protection and ecology were part of the same body. Meanwhile, in what is now Tanzania, Kentrosaurus took a more aggressive approach to defense. Its body bore a mix of plates and exceptionally long spikes, especially toward the tail. These spikes formed a formidable barrier, turning the rear of the animal into a zone of danger. A predator approaching from behind would not meet a simple herbivore, but a forest of moving spears. And consider this: where today vast savannas stretch across Tanzania, filled with grazing herds of mammals, the landscape once hosted this very animal. In more arid environments, long before antelope and wildebeest, Kentrosaurus moved across the land, confronting equally determined and hungry predators. The setting has changed, but the tension between hunter and prey remains a constant echo through time. Not all armored dinosaurs relied on spikes alone. Gargoyleosaurus, one of the earliest nodosaurids from Wyoming, shows another path. About 3.5 meters long and relatively light, it carried rows of flat and pointed osteoderms across its body. Unlike later ankylosaurs, it lacked a tail club. Instead, its protection lay in distributed armor, coverage across the body rather than a single concentrated weapon. The later evolution of the tail club may reflect a shift in how some ankylosaurs responded to predators over time. And then, of course, there is Stegosaurus, the most iconic of them all. Yet even here, familiarity can be misleading. Its broad, towering plates, far wider and more expansive than those of many relatives, formed a silhouette unlike any other stegosaur. Interestingly, it lacked the prominent shoulder spines seen in many earlier forms. This suggests not a simple gain of armor, but a transformation of emphasis. One kind of structure reduced, another expanded into something unmistakable. The plates also varied in shape and size along the back, creating a visual profile that would have been recognizable even at a distance. This matters because armor does not only interact with predators. In living animals, exaggerated body structures often communicate information to members of the same species, including maturity, identity, or physical condition. The function of these plates remains debated. They may have played roles in display, species recognition, thermoregulation, or some combination of these. Their size and shape imply a strong visual component. In life, they may have been covered in keratin and flushed with color, transforming Stegosaurus into a moving signal across the landscape. Thyreophoran armor was never just protection. It shaped movement, behavior, display, and the way predators could attack. In these dinosaurs, survival was written directly onto the body, into plates, spikes, and bones transformed into weapons. The Jurassic did not produce one answer to danger, it produced many.